Welcome back to Pause and Respond. I'm Josua Rine, licensed professional counselor. Today we're talking about something almost everybody experiences, but very few people understand. Replaying conversations in your head. The argument that keeps resurfacing while you're driving. The response you think of 6 hours later. The conversation you mentally rewrite over and over while trying to fall asleep. The interaction that happened 3 days ago that somehow still feels emotionally active. Most people call this overthinking, but many times it's unresolved honesty. Because your brain does not like unfinished emotional experiences. And one of the biggest reasons people stay mentally exhausted is because they are carrying thousands of unfinished emotional moments internally. Things they wanted to say, needed to say, should have said, or almost said, but didn't. And the mind keeps reopening those moments, trying to emotionally resolve them. That's what we're going to unpack today. Not just why your brain does this, but how emotional avoidance quietly turns into emotional exhaustion. Human beings are designed to seek completion. You can feel this psychologically. An unfinished task stays mentally active. An unanswered question stays mentally active. An unresolved emotional experience continues to stay active. Your brain constantly scans for things that feel incomplete. And when you suppress what you actually wanted to communicate, the experience internally remains unfinished. Externally, the conversation may be over, but internally it's not. And that's why your body leaves the interaction, but your mind keeps returning to it. Because internally, something important never goes expressed honestly. For some people, this happens constantly. Someone disrespects you, you laugh it off, but internally, you felt hurt or angry. Someone disappoints you and you say it's okay, but internally it didn't sit well, it's not okay. Somebody might cross a boundary. Instead of challenging them, you stay polite, calm, and avoid tension. But internally, your nervous system registered the moment as emotionally important. Now the mind keeps revisiting it, trying to process what never got resolved. And that's what's interesting is most people do not realize how much emotional energy this is consuming from them on a daily basis. They think they're just stressed. Many people are mentally overloaded from carrying unresolved emotional tension everywhere they go. One of the clearest signs of unresolved honesty is the internal argument. You replay the conversation and then mentally defend it. You imagine what you should have said. You imagine how the other person should have responded. You build a better explanation afterwards. And this is followed up by imaginary conversations. And for some people, these conversations can go on for hours, sometimes even days or weeks. Why? Because internally your brain is trying to regain clarity, protection, and emotional completion. Your mind is attempting to repair the gap between what you felt and what you communicated. And that gap creates tension. This is why people often say, I can't stop thinking about it. Because emotionally, they never finish processing it honestly. And people mistake this for weakness sometimes. But this is actually how the nervous system works. The nervous system does not relax simply because you verbally ended the conversation. It relaxes when the experience feels emotionally resolved. An emotional resolution usually requires honesty, not aggression, not emotional dumping, but simply honesty. Now here's the deeper issue. Most people know what they wanted to say, but fear is what changed it. fear of the conflict, fear of the rejection, maybe feeling awkward, the fear of upsetting someone or disappointing those around them, maybe simply the fear of not being liked or that the situation might escalate. So instead of communicating clearly, they chose to communicate safely. And safe communication often creates emotional clutter internally. This is why so many people live in a constant state of low-level anxiety. They are continuously filtering themselves, constantly editing thoughts, suppressing reactions, minimizing needs, softening their boundaries, or avoiding difficult conversations. Doing those things takes enormous psychological energy. And after a while, people start feeling emotionally tired all the time. Not because life is necessarily harder than everyone else's, but because emotional filtering creates internal friction. You are fighting yourself internally all day long, and eventually, your head just becomes noisy. One thing I've noticed clinically is that unresolved thoughts tend to get louder in quiet environments. Maybe it's at night when you're driving alone, in the shower. Maybe it's just laying in bed. Why? Because distraction decreases. During the day, you can stay busy enough to avoid emotional processing. We got work, phones, tasks, responsibilities. But when things slow down, the unresolved material rises back to the surface. And then people think, why can't my brain shut off? Because silence exposes the unresolved tension. The mind starts reopening emotional files that never got completed. This is why some people are physically exhausted, but mentally wide awake. Their nervous system is still on. They're still processing, running analysis, even replaying conversations or situations that took place weeks ago. And what's fascinating is many people do not actually need more distraction. They simply need more emotional clarity. Because with clarity comes quiet. There's an important distinction here. Healthy reflection is not the same thing as rumination. Reflection creates insight. Rumination creates looping. Reflection sounds like, what can I learn from this? Rumination sounds like, why do I keep replaying this over and over? Reflection allows one to move forward, while rumination keeps one in circles. And unresolved honesty often fuels rumination because the emotional system never reached completion. Part of you still feels unheard. Part of you still feels like what you meant in the moment is unclear or unresolved. Maybe you even feel unprotected by the inability to not be honest or the fear of it. So the brain keeps revisiting the moment, trying to gain control of it retroactively. But the problem is this, right? Mental replay is not emotional resolution. You cannot think your way out of an unresolved honesty. Eventually, something has to be addressed, either internally or relationally. And this is where relationships start suffering, because people often replay the conversations privately instead of communicating them publicly. So over time, resentment builds. And resentment changes behavior before people even realize it. People's patience decrease, their tones change, their distance grows, the warmth in which they come to each other begins to dissipate. People generally become less emotionally available, not because they've stopped caring about the other person, but because unresolved emotion slowly drains connection. And this is why emotional honesty matters early. Not after 6 months of resentment, not after complete emotional exhaustion, not after months or weeks of shutdown, but early, when the moment is still manageable. Healthy communication is not about saying everything perfectly. It's about reducing the emotional buildup before it becomes emotional pressure. Pause and respond framework changes this process completely, because instead of immediately suppressing the experience, the idea is to pause long enough to identify what's actually happening internally. Not what sounds acceptable, but what am I honestly feeling right now? Then instead of emotionally exploding later, you communicate earlier and more clear. That may sound like, honestly, I've been thinking about that conversation, or I don't think I fully expressed how I felt. Maybe it's that actually bothered me more than I realized. I think I minimized something important. That kind of communication creates emotional completion, and emotional completion quiets mental noise, because the clarity that comes with that reduces the internal conflict. The goal is not to never think deeply. The goal is not emotional numbness. The goal is not becoming cold or detached. The goal is a quieter mind through clearer communication. A lot of people are mentally exhausted because they are carrying too many unspoken things. And over time, that creates emotional weight. But honesty lightens the cognitive load, because when your internal world and external communication are aligned, your nervous system no longer has to work so hard to maintain the contradiction. And that's where peace starts showing up, not through avoidance, but through alignment. All right, so this week's challenge. This week, I want you to notice which conversations you keep replaying in your mind. Then ask yourself, what was left unsaid? Not impulsively, not aggressively, but honestly. Because many times the mind keeps looping around conversations that emotionally never reached completion. And awareness is always the first step toward clarity. If this episode connected with you, the new book, Pause and Respond, The Honesty Advantage, goes on much deeper in emotional clarity, overthinking, resentment, boundaries. You can get that book and other Pause and Respond books and workbooks, along with the new coaching information at pauseandrespond.com. And if this episode helped you, please share it with somebody whose mind never seems to slow down, because sometimes the problem isn't overthinking. Sometimes the problem is unresolved honesty. This is Pause and Respond. Less reaction, more choice.